All right, baby, let's do this thing. Coffee on a Tuesday and Vlog 39. So I know it's not good to talk about politics or religion in polite conversation, but flame wars be damned, I'm doing it. I had quite a wonderful time last Thursday watching the vice presidential debate. It was a hootin' and hollerin', stripped to the waist, bare knuckle boxing match twixt Joey Mack and the svelte Poindexter. The debate ranged from Libya to Iran to Medicare to taxes to abortion and back. Martha Raddatz was wonderful indeed, and though she held the debate by the scruff of its neck, she was not opposed to letting the opponent slug it out when it came to blows, because that's what they went there to do. That's democracy! Let's take a look at one exchange that interested me.
I'm not allowed to show letters, but go on our website. He sent me 2 letters saying, by the way, can you send me some stimulus money for companies here in the state of Wisconsin? We sent millions of dollars. You know why he said
you did ask for stimulus money?
Sure he
correct?
did. By the way,
on 2 occasions, we advocated for constituents who are applying for grants.
Now, Ryan and the Romney-Ryan ticket and the House Republican caucus and Senate Republicans and Republicans generally have spent a lot of time decrying the efficacy of the Recovery Act, called by many the stimulus package. They spend a lot of time saying how this didn't work, how it failed, and their repetitive persistence in this matter has worked out pretty well for them, considering that this huge, some would say, signature piece of legislation from the Obama administration is barely ever talked about by the administration itself. But as the exchange showed, Svelte Poindexter's own request for stimulus funds for his state seems to contradict his party's assertion that the stimulus did nothing for small businesses. In fact, the stimulus achieved a whole host of things, including getting aid to drowning states, tax cuts for middle-income Americans, grants for schools based on performance. It paved the way for a smart grid. It accelerated the process of digitizing health records. It spent money on homelessness prevention, on infrastructure. It upgraded 236 miles of flood control levees, 350 military bases, 850 wastewater systems, and 400,000 public housing apartments. It helped bring broadband internet to far-out communities, and it invested in future technologies and fledgling industries. An example of both is green energy. Now this, in particular, has Paul Ryan in a tizzy.
$90 billion in green pork to campaign contributors and special interest groups.
But he himself urged Labor Secretary Hilda Salas to fund a green jobs training program in Wisconsin. Green energy is a special favorite of mine when it comes to the Recovery Act, because at the end of the Bush administration, that sector was on the edge, about to die. Solar companies, wind companies, biofuel companies were ready to move their businesses to other places in the world because in America, the money just wasn't there. In just the decade before Obama took office, our share in global solar production and deployment fell from 40% to 8%. The Recovery Act's investment in green tech is a great example of how a government should seek to effect change. Without the billions of dollars in grants from the stimulus, green energy companies were dead in the water compared to dirty energy companies whose costs from huge scale allowed them to produce at a much cheaper and more competitive rate, not to mention the billions in subsidies dirty was and is getting from the government already. Green tech needed help to bridge what's called the valley of death, that period of time for startups when they acquire lots of debt, building their product and achieving the economies of scale necessary to make that business profitable. Green tech was dying because each of its various technologies was too young or too risky for private investors who could make easier money on other things. Some will tell you that government investment like the $90 billion that green tech got in the stimulus package is bad because it crowds out private investment. But in 2009, at the height of the recession, when capital, money, was nowhere, the crowding out argument doesn't really hold water. The Recovery Act actually crowded in private investment by helping new technologies, solar, wind, battery, biofuel, bridge the valley of death, making the opportunity sexier. Solar was dying. Now it's one of the fastest growing industries in the country. And if we just take a look at Romney's old 5-point plan here, we'll see. Oh, yes.
Second, we'll give our fellow citizens the skills they need for the jobs of today and the careers of tomorrow.
Jobs of tomorrow. Check. So, if you want to learn more about the Recovery Act, I highly, highly, highly recommend you read Michael Grunwald's new book, The New Deal. It should be required reading for anyone who is going to vote next month. It's got pictures in it, too. Look, it's Joe Biden and President Obama. They're just hanging out, buds.